ॐ रत्नाकरादौत्तपदां हिमालयकिरीटिनीं ब्रह्मराजर्षि रत्नाढ्यां वन्दे भारतमातरम्. Namaste. In this series, we have till now covered three important theories which can help us evaluate the value system of a technology. As we are interested in developing technologies which are suitable for our culture, it is necessary to understand how to evaluate them. Only then we can be better designers. In this session, I will be drawing your attention to the theories mainly from West. It is also important to learn from their thinkers. We have to understand what fueled their fancy for machines. By doing so, we may learn some lessons. We may not try to repeat such mistakes here. Western culture see nature as an oppressor. They see nature as a force which challenges man. For them, the conflict between man and nature is inevitable. But man cannot fight nature because he has several limitations. The tools which early man created was an attempt to overcome his limitations to conquer nature. These cultures accord high value to technology because they see machines as extensions of primitive tools which help them fight nature. This encouragement is translated into manufacturing mighty machines which continues to subjugate nature. Popular cultural tools like cinema is used to highlight the idea of nature as an evil force which needs to be tamed. Immanuel Kant argued that such a conflict is indeed good. In an article titled Idea for a Universal History from a Cosmopolitan Point of View, Kant argues that nature wants such a opposition. The fourth thesis in that article says the means employed by nature to bring about the development of all the capacities of men is their antagonism in society, so far as this is, in the end, the cause of a lawful order among men. According to Kant, nature opposes man because it wants him to develop skills of survival. In a strong remark, he says, man wishes conquered, but nature knows better what is good for the race. She wills discard. Without this struggle, Immanuel Kant says, man would remain lazy and never become cultured being. The necessity of tools is thus justified as a means to conquer nature. The early tools were extensions of human effort. Those tools resembles human actions without the limitations. You can observe that the railroads replicate the circulatory system in human body and telegraph network resembles nervous system. This isomorphic relation between man and his creation is an unconscious effort. G.W.F. Hegel said, man makes tools because he is rational and this is the first expression of his will. Since the tools necessitated human action, their scope of exploiting nature was limited. As an enabler for human action and in harmony with nature, tools did not pose any threat to the relation man had with nature. It is with the invention of machines that everything changed. While tools had place for humans, machines made humans irrelevant. We can take the definition of what is a machine from what Karl Marx said. He defines machine as something which consists of three essential different parts: the motor mechanism, the transmitting mechanism, and finally the tool or working machine. Machines demanded new things like power to keep them running. Machines were also attempting to break the natural laws by conquering space and time. Large machinery aided the explosion of construction technologies that redefined the concept of space. Though the structures like pyramids were built before, with the advent of machine, such efforts increased manifold. Modern technologies fastened the process of conquering space. Invention of steam engine changed the concept of time. Though people used to travel before that, automobiles revolutionized the concept of travel. The emergence of communication technologies further helped man to conquer time. Telegraph, telephones, and various modern communication tools changed the way man viewed the concept of time. Using the machines, man does not feel necessary to follow the rules of nature and thinks he can master them according to his will. We can understand this in a very simple way with this example. Previously, when humans did not have any option to use large machines, the kind of constructions they were doing were very small, and most of the construction they were doing were abiding the rules of nature. Even though some big constructions like the construction wonders like the big temple of the Tanjavur was built, it took sheer human effort to build that. But today, by using huge machines, that connect with nature is lost, and we deliberately think that we can break the rule of the nature by building tall buildings which we can't find in nature. Such large buildings, anything similar to that is not found in nature, but using machines we tend to break the rule of the nature. The same goes with travel and communication technologies. Earlier, when man used to travel by walking in his feet or using slow moving carts, there was a slower pace of life, and man knew that he could travel only this much in his lifetime. In a generation before us, there were many people who had not crossed 10 kilometers or 50 kilometers outside their birthplace. In fact, you may recall that if somebody undertakes a journey to Kashi, even before some 50 years, the chances of them coming back was very minimal. That is why even today people follow a big ritual before going to Kashi, or people from north undertake the similar ritual while they start their journey to Rameshwaram, because there was no guarantee that they will return back. But with today's modern transportation systems and with the communication tools, we don't seem to respect the concept of time. Time for us is something which can be subjugated according to our will. This is what I am trying to say, that with the use of machines, the nature which had put some limit on how space and time should be understood, today humans have crossed those limits, and that is what is posing all the problems for us. Friends, the development of machines is seen as a triumph of human spirit by many thinkers. There was this thinker, futurologist called Buckminster Fuller, who incidentally had also come to India and had given his vision before Indira Gandhi, who was a prime minister of that time, but somehow his ideas were not accepted by the government of that time. But this man, Buckminster Fuller, he has written a very wonderful long poem called No More Second-Hand God, where he rejected the idea of God and says he sees machines as God because he feels that he sees machines are more efficient than the working of God. In his own words, in the poem No More Second-Hand God, he says, I see God in the instrument and mechanisms that work reliably, more reliably than the limited sensory departments of human mechanism. Such was his belief in machines, that he thought that machines are more perfect than God himself. Similarly, for Francis Bacon, the goal of technology was to endow the humans with riches through new inventions. The new products and possibilities brought in by technology was welcomed as progressive and necessary. But not all thinkers thought so. For some thinkers, the goal of technology was not simply to manufacture cheap goods for worldly pleasures. They saw deep meaning behind the development of technology. Aberhard Zimmer argued that the purpose of technology was to liberate humans by endowing them with the powers to overcome the limitations imposed by nature. Zimmer says technology liberates man. Therefore, the value of technology gets elevated because it serves purposes of high moral order. Immanuel Kant forwarded the critique of scientific knowing, moral doing, and aesthetic feeling. The act of science helps to know the physical world but cannot help appreciate the inner self of an object, he said. Artistic pursuits help appreciate the non-tangible aspects but is silent on the physical aspect of an object. This is what Immanuel Kant said. It is very much agreeable. Adding to it, Friedrich Dosser says that there is one more critic called technology making. He argues that in the creation of technology, man realizes the inner self of an object. The essence of technology does not lie in manufacturing but in creation. Therefore, for him and many, technology becomes a kind of religious experience and the greatest earthly experience of humans. This is something which is very much explained in Indian philosophy also. It comes to our own experience. Most of you may recall that somewhere in your high school days or even in your plus 2 days, when you are solving a really tough problem in mathematics or physics, when you really get absorbed, you will feel that you have not experienced the time passing by. And by the end, you would have spent 2 to 3 hours solving a problem. At the end, when you have solved a problem, the kind of experience that you will get is something uncomparable. Why that? Even think about the exams that you wrote as students. Can you think that once upon a time you were sitting straight for 3 hours and continuously writing on a sheet of paper? It may be unthinkable for you now, but at that time, when you are fully immersed in a subject concept, it came easy. You would never feel that you were spending 3 long hours completely immersed in writing. Dosser says exactly that. He is saying that making a technology, the creation process, can be a religious experience. That is something I am very sure all of you would have experienced at some point of time in your life. The utilitarian and philosophical arguments for technology is countered by the criticisms offered by thinkers ranging from Mumford to Neil Postman. The thinkers mentioned here never rejected technology. They just questioned the necessity of mega machines which did not respect the tender balance between nature and humans. For them, nature is not an oppressor but a cradle of human living. By questioning modern technology, they were trying to sensitize people towards restoring the connect with nature. Louis Mumford classified technologies into two categories. Polytechniques were those technologies in harmony with nature, therefore they were approved by him. Monotechniques, on the other hand, was rejected because it aimed at power accumulation and exploitation of nature. For Mumford, the aim of technology was not to control nature but to fulfill humans' superorganic demands. Ortega Gasset followed the lines of Mumford and divided human history into three phases. In the first stage, humans depended on chance to solve their problems. They later codified their best practice and developed skills which were largely limited to them. It was only in the third phase that problem solving became scientific endeavor with machines which undermined the human component. Martin Heidegger also felt modern technology did not create anything like traditional pottery. For him, technology reveals nature by challenging it. Therefore, technology is about revealing and not about manufacturing. He gave steps of this revealing process as unlocking, transforming, storing, distribution, and switching to new forms. For him, the problem with technology is that it cannot appreciate its own limitations because it is so sure about the process it follows. And this process compels technology to involve only at the material level and tends to distract it from appreciating the metaphysical reality. Hegel gave an excellent analysis to this situation when he said, "The more man profits from machine, the more he subjugates nature, then the more degraded he himself becomes." Hegel argued that man will be forced to work more because of machines. This is exactly what we are seeing today. For a long time, we thought that we will create machines that will make our life easier. But what has happened today? Because there are machines, we are actually working more. Because machines undermine the skills of humans and they replicate our work more efficiently. So, we are competing with machines. Therefore, man is being forced to work more to improve his skills and bring value to his work. For Hegel, manufacturers and workshops found their existence on the misery of class. As Karl Marx rightly observed, technology discloses man's mode of dealing with nature. The notion that nature is an oppressor which needs to be tackled with force has resulted in flurry of technology. The results of using technology to exploit nature is being felt today. The seriousness of problems of climate change is acknowledged by all nations and international organizations. Technology should be reoriented towards having a more harmonious relationship with nature for the betterment of world and progress of mankind. Friends, this lesson of living harmoniously with nature is inbuilt in our culture. It is time that we put it into forefront of our discussion. That is the only way we can build technologies that will solve our national problems. ॐ प्रकृतिः पञ्चभूतानि ग्रहालोकास्वरास्तथा दिशः कालाश्च सर्वेषां सदा कुर्वतु मङ्गलम्.